Hey folks, Eric here from DirtyOldSneakers.com. This is the fourth in a series of new videos about the New York City Marathon that I'm making this year. So check back and check back often to see when new videos are posted, about every week or every other week. Better yet, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell next to it so you get notified when I put new videos up. I put links to the other videos that I've made over the years in the description of this video, and they cover everything you're ever going to need to know about running the race. If you haven't seen them yet, check them out. Even if this is your first year or your 10th year running the race, I think you're going to get something out of it. So here's what I wish I knew before I ran the New York City Marathon for the first time, and I'm going to count them down. Number 5, and you've heard this before, but I'm going to tell you about it a little differently, is the crowds. The New York City Marathon was actually the first marathon that I ever ran. I was crazy lucky to get in via the lottery the first time I tried. I know, don't hate me. So I run it, and I was floored by the amount of spectators and how supportive everybody was. I mean, it was unreal. The only place on the course where spectators aren't allowed is, actually there's two. The first is the Verrazano Bridge from mile 0 to mile 2. But you're coming off the high from the start and all of the excitement there, so you, or at least I, hardly noticed it. The second is the 59th Street Bridge at mile 16. Now things get pretty sparse on all of the bridges. The Pulaski Bridge around the 13.1 mark from Brooklyn to Queens, the Willis Avenue Bridge from Manhattan to the Bronx, and the Madison Avenue Bridge from the Bronx back into Manhattan. Now, the reason I wish I knew about the amount of crowd support was really to prepare me for my next race. I ran the Jersey Marathon the following year and was shocked at the empty streets and lack of fanfare. Now, I've since run marathons in Boston, Chicago twice, Newport, Rhode Island, Jersey again, Los Angeles, Philly, Cincinnati, and the only place the crowds come even close to New York are Boston and Chicago. But not quite. Nothing compares to the crowds that line the streets for the New York City Marathon. Hey, real quick, before we get too far into it, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button below, get this up into the algorithm a little bit more. It just might get into more eyeballs, some folks that might find it useful. All right, let's get back to the tips. Number 4, the 59th Street Bridge. I mentioned this in the first one, but it bears being expanded on. The 59th Street Bridge is, I don't really know how one explains it. In a word, it just sucks. I know that's 3 words, but let me explain. It's hard enough to get up the hill at mile 16 when your hips, your knees, your ankles, everything is starting to ache. But then you have no crowd support, and that just makes it torture, especially since you've had such amazing crowd support before that. But look, don't let me psych you out. The fact that I'm telling you this means you can be prepared. I always tell people to tuck in behind another runner and just gut it out. Part of the training that you're doing on the long runs you've logged was to learn how to ignore the pain. And this is where it pays off. And when you get to the bottom of the bridge, you'll be so reinvigorated by the roar of the crowds on First Avenue, you'll forget about anything that you were thinking on the bridge. Number 3, getting to the start is a process. Your mantra for the morning of the race should be hurry up and wait. Prepare yourself for long lines, waiting, more long lines, and more waiting. If you haven't seen it yet, check out the video that I did on what to bring to the start. You can see it, like I said, up here. Number 2, pee when you can. I'm not kidding. This is really a general rule for any marathon you've run. If you see a porta potty, jump in line. If you get out of a porta potty, jump back in line. I mean, I'm kidding, sort of. Here's a tip for the start. Well, 2 tips. First, when they collapse the corrals and everyone starts walking to the start area, most of the hundreds of porta potties that are in the corrals are empty. Take advantage of that. Second, when you get past the corrals and out into the actual start area, if you're far enough back, they use buses that brought runners out to Staten Island to separate the different areas.
famous.
If you can make eye contact with one of the drivers, they most likely will let you on to use the bathroom in the back. It's no sweat off their backs. They're just sitting there waiting for the runners to clear out of the start area so they can get back to their lives. If you're caught peeing on the course, you could be DQ'd and never be allowed to run the race again. So don't. And last but not least, and say it with me, I say this at least 1,000 times every year, there is no waterfall of urine on the lower level of Verrazano Bridge. I don't know where this rumor started, but if you can't trust that I'm telling you the truth, I want you to really think about what it would take for that to happen. We're talking Olympic level synchronized urination of epic proportions. Not to mention, when one person finishes, there would need to be another waiting to tag in and take his place. And then another, and another. And I mean, how many would it take to be standing next to each other to make it a waterfall? Or even something that you would notice on the lower level? 10 people? 20? For argument's sake, let's say 10. So you have 10 guys all peeing next to each other and pointing in the same direction. Side note, I don't know if you've ever peed next to a guy out in the woods or anything, but we usually face in different directions. Okay, so those 10 tag out, and another 10 are waiting behind them, and another 10 waiting behind them, and so on and so on. I mean, really? I've clearly thought way too much about this. Trust me when I tell you, there is no waterfall of urine on the lower level of the Verrazano Bridge. That's about it, folks. If you like this video, please smash that like button below, get it up into the YouTube algorithm a little bit more. And if you like gear reviews, race reviews, or anything endurance sports related, I'm your guy. Please hit subscribe and the bell next to it so you get notified when I put new videos up, like I said, just about every other week or so. And thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.